Okay, so the last video that I did was basically taking these out of maceration and putting to dry. So now these are all dry, a couple of days in, and you can see even the bigger bones are completely and thoroughly dry. So once you've got to this stage, the bones that have got grease in are quite apparent. So you can see the big difference. So basically, on this particular skeleton, because it had been partially cleaned before, and because it's been macerated for a long time, there's not a lot of grease. The long bones are the ones that need degreasing. So what I've done is I've drilled little holes, as you can see. I've drilled them where I know I'm going to need holes when I build it. So these holes will help the grease to escape. I'm going to pop these into acetone. Acetone is a dangerous chemical, and obviously if you're doing big skeletons you need to buy it in a fair size quantity. I usually buy 25 or 50 litres at a time, and then you can fill tubs such as these big tubs down here, which you can see these tubs with a decent sized skeleton in, they'll take quite a lot of acetone. These smaller tubs are handy for when you've only got a few bones. So there's some acetone that's been used for a few bones already, so you can see the difference in colour. To this is fresh acetone. So we've got acetone that's been used for a few bones. So you see that the colour that's on the bone comes out, and this is clean acetone. So side by side, you can see the difference. The dirty acetone still works, and if you've got a skeleton that's going to need a lot of whitening, you know, there's no problem putting bones into that one. But I'm going to use this one today because this skeleton is fairly clean, and I'm not going to whiten too much. Maybe a couple of days in peroxide for that one. So pop the bones in, you'll see the little bubbles coming out. If you put your bones in, just make sure that they're completely covered. Obviously if you've got a greasy end and it's sticking up like this, it's not going to degrease, so make sure your bones are completely covered, and seal your tub. That is the most important. I'm using ice cream tubs here because they've got a really good seal. If you don't seal it, that acetone will quite simply evaporate, and it won't take very long to evaporate. Even a full tub like that one with the lid on, if you don't tape around the top, because it's not a tight sealing lid, it will evaporate. So I'm going to leave that there. I will check those. I'll probably take those out at the weekend, just for good measure. So I'll leave them in for 4 or 5 days, and then recheck them. I'll just take them out and let them dry. When they're in acetone, it dries really quickly because the acetone evaporates. So it's not like water that soaks into the bone. It takes a bit more drying. Those will dry really quickly. Okay guys, so that's the Wolverine. You can see as well with the maceration, a few more teeth have dropped out after the drying. So there's the one of the canines. You don't realise how big these teeth are, but basically they're a very strong, aggressive animal. So there's only that portion of the tooth is showing, but the tooth's actually anchored into the skull by that amount. So when they're tearing at things to rip them apart, the tooth is really well anchored. If it was any different to that, it would just snap. So, and you can see cavity for that in the skull. So yeah, you can see there's a few more. The front teeth have dropped out at the bottom and the top, and one of the canines. The teeth may well be loose when you've macerated a skull. It's always worth just checking the teeth. Pull on the teeth and then see if the teeth are slightly loose. If they are, just a drop of super glue on the root and just put the tooth back in, and it'll just dry itself. Right guys, hope you found that informative. Get a lot of questions about cleaning and things. It's basically trial and error on what works for you, and don't rush it if you want it to be nice when it's finished. So give us a like, add some comments, questions, and don't forget, if you subscribe you can keep up to date with new videos if you hit the bell button at the bottom. Cheers guys.